Welcome to Cultimatum, the podcast uncovering the dark realities of cults and human trafficking. I'm your host, Anonymous Andrew, and each week we dive deep into the manipulation, control, and courageous escapes that define these worlds.
And I'm Melody, Andrew's co-host. Having experienced the depth of a cult firsthand, specifically the House of Yahweh, I am here as an advocate for fellow survivors.
The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not reflect the official policy or position of Cultimatum or its affiliates. The content discussed on this podcast are based on personal experiences and should not be construed as factual or legal advice. Neither the host nor the guest are liable for any statements made during the episodes. Listeners are encouraged to conduct their own research and seek professional advice where appropriate.
And before we dive into today's episode, we want to issue a trigger warning. Some episodes may cover explicit and potentially disturbing subjects such as sexual abuse, rape, human trafficking, suicide, and other sensitive subjects. Listener discretion is advised. Hey, Cultimatum fans, before we dive into today's episode, we have a quick favor to ask.
If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, could you take a moment to rate and review the show?
It really does help more people find Cultimatum and helps bring awareness to cults and human trafficking.
Thanks so much. And now let's jump into today's episode. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cultimatum Podcast. And my name is Anonymous Andrew, and with me tonight is my co-host Melody. Hello, Melody.
Hi, Andrew. Today we're joined by Jennifer Redcay. Jennifer grew up in a Christian-based cult led by a husband-wife team. The group did not have a name but left lasting scars. She's the author of Pushing Back the Darkness, where she shares her powerful story of survival and healing. Jennifer is also active on social media, bringing awareness to cult abuse. Having endured and overcome multiple forms of abuse herself, she now speaks out to help others find hope and freedom. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited to hear your story.
Yes, welcome. Yeah, I'm very excited. We've had many cults. We've done over 80-something episodes, and a lot of them are JWs and Seventh-day Adventists, and some of them are repeats. And even though everybody's story and perspective is different, we love new cults. We love the new ones that come in, and we love those little tiny ones that hide in the nook and crannies of the world. So sounds like yours is one of them. So I'm excited to hear yours. So.
Yes. We were in a very small town in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So we are definitely one of those small town, no one would ever know or suspect kind of. It was definitely one of those types of cults for sure.
So how did you or your family get involved?
Right. Were you born into it? Was you married into it?
Yeah. Okay. So I would like to back up just a little bit, because I think it's important to let you guys know why I got involved. My dad left when I was like 4 years old. And so there was like this dad hole in my heart, right? This empty hole that I was like throughout my days, throughout my teenage years and even my early adult years, I was always trying to fill that hole. I didn't realize it was a dad hole per se. My mom had remarried. She unfortunately got remarried to a gentleman who had mental health issues and refused to take his medicine. So my home life as a teenager was very tumultuous. We went to church every Sunday. We had religion, not relationship. So I just want to put that in there quickly, just because I think that's important to know where I came from.
Certainly.
But we got involved. My aunt went to a Christian bookstore in the Lancaster County area, and the husband and wife team owned the bookstore. They were the husband especially was very charismatic and really told my aunt different things about God that she'd never really heard before and started questioning. She was brought up very conservative. So the things that he was bringing to her attention was like drawing her in, and she was very excited about the different things that he was saying. So she started to go. They told her that they had a ministry after hours, that were to help people get closer to God, and it was called a deliverance ministry. Now, I'm not sure if you know what that is. There is deliverance ministries that are out today that I believe fully in, but it's very hard. A deliverance ministry definitely needs to be under somebody. Like, you have to have a pastor or somebody that is over you and overseeing whatever it is that you're doing. You should never, like, I felt, ever do anything without leadership over top of, like, over you. So anyway, they had a deliverance ministry, and my aunt started going, and she started changing. Then she got my mom to start going, and then my sister started going. My sister had was a senior in college at the time, and I started seeing my sister, who was definitely into, like, had been into drugs and things like that, started to really change. By this time, I was already married, um, and I had looked in all the wrong places to fill that hole that I was talking about. Um, I had been drinking. I led a pretty promiscuous lifestyle. And even when I got married, I thought, okay, this is going to fill that void. He did not fill that void. So I started going back to church, and started to have a relationship with God and with Jesus, but um, was very, very new. And then I started seeing these changes in my aunt and in my mom and in my sister, and they seemed to have something different about them. But at the same time, I was very leery of what I was witnessing and just leery of what I was hearing. Fast forward, then I met them, and my sister, they were going to send my sister out to California to be part of their ministry out in California. And they asked me to come up and say goodbye. So I did. And I remember, like, sitting in the parking lot, literally just wondering, like, I had carpal tunnel at the time. I literally took off my braces for carpal tunnel, and went inside because I was afraid they were going to pray for me, which I think is really interesting that even back then, like, I was just a baby Christian at that point, but was still had this check in my spirit, like something's off. But I took off my braces and I went in, and we had dinner together. And then the man, who I would say to you is very charismatic, just really had all the right words to say, was very passionate, started talking to me about how God had a special call in my life. He was telling me things about my husband that he didn't know unless somebody had told them. And he said that God was going to use me and my husband very mightily, and he was going to bring my husband to God. Like, so my husband would be saved. So I got very excited about that. But in the same time, he said, "You have an idol up in your life." Now, I knew enough about Christianity and I knew enough in my faith that you're not supposed to have idols before God. And so I knew that was wrong. I knew it wasn't like necessarily pagan images or things that you like would have in your house, but literally it could be just like the love, like your career could be an idol, different things like that you put before God could be an idol. So I understood that
Jen,
enough.
Jen, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
There's so you said something a minute or two ago, and this is what Melody was saying at the beginning is that because I come from the non-cult world, sometimes I
Sure.
don't understand something, but I do come from a religious background, Roman Catholic, and I studied theology. But when somebody comes up to you and says your husband is going to be saved, what does that mean to you?
Okay, sure. So for me, that meant that he was going to ask Jesus into his heart and that he was going to have a personal relationship with God. And that although my husband claimed to be a Christian, he was not going to church. Like, I wanted, what my idea was, we were going to, in that moment, was we'd be going to church and God would have us do something in ministry, whether it was like leading something at church or doing something special for God and bringing other people to the Lord. That is what, when he said that to me, that's what I had in my mind. That's what it meant to me at the time.
Okay. So, in my upbringing, when I heard, and this was the Roman Catholic sermons and churches, if I heard the word saved, to me that just meant saved from the devil. Like you would be saved and you'll be brought to heaven upon when your soul leaves the body. And but I do hear that like to be like the Jehovah's Witnesses use that to be saved, and I'm just always curious what it means to one particular cult or religion as opposed to another. So just
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, I mean, and and also in being saved is meaning that, he was gonna go to heaven. That was,
Well,
yeah,
and that's implied, and I
yeah,
know that. So if you're going to be
yeah,
saved, that God's going to save you, and since you, in it, I remember the days I literally thought about this that you will have a seat at the right hand of God. So God's
right,
sitting in His throne. As an 8-year-old, you're thinking this. You see the old man in the throne, and you see a seat next to him, and I'm
right.
thinking, oh, my mom and dad are going to be saved because mom does this and dad does that because they were very devout Catholics. And I'm thinking mom and dad are going to sit on the right and left hand side of God. And it's like, it's just, it's amazing what they teach you. And you have to kind of formulate these concepts in your own young brain that you just have no idea what they're talking about. So thank you.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, he told me I had these idols up, so he asked if I would pray a prayer with him, and I said yes, and then he said, "The idol is that you want to have a baby, like, you want to be a mom more than you want God." This what really hit me hard because as a child, alls I ever wanted to do was, like, get married and have kids. That was my goal. I remember playing the bride game. I remember always thinking about what it would be like to be married and have kids. I really didn't have career goals necessarily. I really that it was truly what I wanted. So when he said that, it hit me really hard, and I remember saying this prayer with him and just sobbing because I felt like I was giving up on my dream. And, but yet I was feeling like, well, God's asking me to do this, so I need to do it. Again, I'm a very baby Christian. And, so at that point, I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. So
Quick
I did
question.
that. And sure,
I just want, did you have any children at that time or no?
no, no.
Okay. Okay.
No, and the sad part about this story is you'll hear, um, that's why this part is really important for me to tell you because you'll hear something more as we go into the story about children and myself. So I prayed that prayer and that just began a relationship with this husband and wife. I started going them for ministry after hours. I started going to their house on the weekends. I started having sessions with them. I would spend a lot of time with them. I was always reading my Bible at home. My husband, I had stopped going to the bars. I had stopped drinking at home. I stopped even watching certain TV shows with him. Now, I would go to the bar if he asked me to, but I wouldn't drink anything. And my husband just kept seeing me being more and more withdrawn and being more involved with this couple. So at one point, he went to his brother's pastor and asked for help. He took the Bible that I was using and went to the pastor, and the pastor told him that it sounds like she's in a cult and you might as well just give up because you can't get people out of cults, which is so sad to me because now I am such an activist to, bring awareness because you can get set free from cults. And I feel like had my husband been told you need to fight for her, you need to expose them for what they are, I might not be here today telling you my story. So he decided to leave me. He decided to, he left. He said, I'm going to leave. I believe you're in a cult. If you ever get out of it, please contact me regardless. If I'm remarried, I want to know that you're okay. So the couple then just kept spending all this time with me and then was saying to me, God is asking you to leave everything behind. Using scriptures, they convinced me that I was to literally sell my house, sell everything I owned, sell the clothes on my back, quit my job, and move to a house that they were providing for me in the same county, but a different town. And what I didn't know then is the scriptures that they used. If you would read the whole scripture, there's a lot more to it, or the whole parable, there's a lot more to it. It's not simply, leave father. If you can't leave father and mother, then you're not worthy of me, or, those were the type of things that they would say. So I just did not do research for myself. I just believed every word, and I was so convinced that they were hearing from God. So I did that.
Well, what do you think their motive was at that time?
Money,
So
money
that
and
was going to be my
power.
question. Did you have to tithe off that money or donate all of that money, or did they take everything?
Yeah, so with everything I sold, I gave them I tithed to them off of that money. And then they put me up in a house for a year, and I lived on some of that money. It wasn't much, just lived on some of that money, but then they were paying my bills at first for the first year. But it was all part of their plan because during that year, they were brainwashing me. They were spending all their time with me. I was with them 24/7 sometimes. I would be with them for 3 days, like, sleeping at their house. Sometimes I would be up all night at their house
Th- This
because
this sounds. I do a little dabbling in the scam world. This sounds like a scam.
yeah, I mean,
They they
Well,
told you to sell
cults
your
are a
house.
scam.
Well,
yes,
yeah, we have established that. But this sounds like a straight up financial sell your house, sell your goods, sell everything. I'm guessing you sold your car if you had one.
yeah.
So the, I can't imagine there was less than two or $300,000 in liquidity.
Oh, no, it wasn't that much. I mean, I had owned the house that I lived in, and I wasn't able to sell it. It was a townhouse. So I had somebody renting from it for a while, but I didn't have that much at all.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
yeah, I didn't. Just because I was a new I mean, I think I was like 20 I was 26 when I got involved. So, I didn't have a lot of possessions at that point, and we were newly married. We were only married for 2 years. But, when you want if you're seeking for God and they're using God to, like, say all these things, like,
Very easily to pull you into that world.
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
very, very easy. So their ministry was just deliverance, but it was also they felt they had a call in their life. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit different than what you've probably heard before, but they felt they were called to rid the world of demons. And they were supposed to, we were supposed to cast demons out of ourselves. We were supposed to cast demons out of the people that we were around, out of the earth. We were supposed to do all these things. And it was very subtle at first. So, it's kind of like that scenario of like a boiling a frog. You start out, they don't realize what's happening. And that's exactly what happened to me and to my mom and my aunt and my sister. So we would spend nights watching movies, and then he would get all these demon names from the movies, and then he would tell me the demons were in me. We would watch anything from Disney movies to romance to comedy movies to horror movies and also porn. That's
Of,
where it
of,
got really
of course.
twisted.
Of course.
Mhm. So we started out having to do these prayers, that we were cutting ourselves off from everybody every day, and then we were casting all these demons out of ourselves.
How do
And
you
then
justify? I can understand comedy. So if anybody sits down to watch TV, putting on a comedy is normal. Putting on a drama or action show,
yep,
or any of the other ones you mentioned. But how did he justify putting on a porn?
because of my sexual sin. He
Mm.
felt that there was this sexual sin in me, or then it became I had fantasies of him. And
Oh,
yeah.
oh. Okay,
Mhm.
well, I'm guessing he was really having fantasies of you, but that's just
Yeah,
my guess.
yeah. You think? Yeah. Gosh.
Yes. So the prayer time that I would do when I first got in was probably 20 minutes a day. By the time I left 10 years later, we're talking it took me 3 and 4 hours of praying after I would go home from work because of all the different names that they came up with and all this whole thing that we would have to do, and we were never clean. We had to constantly make ourselves clean, and we were never clean enough. But through all of that, about a year in, he had me start working. My mom was involved also now. They had us living together by this point, and we both had to start waitressing because it's fast money. Fast money, and depending on where you work, it's a good money. And we started out giving them 10% of our earnings. By the time we left, we were giving them all but 70%. We gave them over $400,000 over a period of 10 years between my mom and I. Um,
Wow.
if not more. I just know, like, from the records I have, that's what I have written down. But we were
This
working
is
all the
probably
time.
jumping ahead in your story, but I hope your mom
Sure.
got out too.
She did.
Oh,
She
thank
did.
goodness.
Yeah, so my aunt got out first, and we were not allowed to speak to her again, and my mom stayed in it with me because we were living together, and my sister and her husband, which is another whole story, she got out of it as well before we did, and we were not allowed to speak to them. The reason we were in for 10 years was because they convinced us that if we left, we would go to hell, and that is a very real fear when you believe in God and you believe in heaven and hell. And
Oh,
then go
I
ahead.
believed it when I was a kid. I mean, just as a Roman Catholic, they taught that. And if
Yes.
you sin and you don't confess your sins and you die, and you either go to purgatory, or you go to hell. That was
Yeah.
so. Yeah. So
And it's a
and that,
very
as a
common cult
child, that could be
tactic.
very scary. Yeah. So
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Very
Mm.
common.
So, and the other reason we were staying also was about probably by 6 months in is when I started getting beat up. So at first, my
Beat up
beatings,
by him.
hmm yeah, at first my beatings were maybe having something thrown at me, or just a punch in the arm. But over the 10 years, he broke my hand, he broke my ribs. I had many, many black and blue marks on my body. People at work could not understand where I was coming with all these bruises and stuff. They at one point they even thought, well, maybe her mom is beating her because they knew we lived together and my mom and I were working at the same place, but they were they couldn't think of, because they wouldn't think of like, we called them our pastors, right? So they would never think a pastor would be beating her, or would be beating me up. So that's the beating started. Then also about 3 years in, the sexual abuse
I
started.
was just gonna ask. I knew that was
Mhm.
coming. Oh God.
Yep, yep. So,
And
um
I mean, your mom was she witnessing these beatings or she was at least seeing the after effects, I'm sure?
yeah, so she would see some of the beatings, not all of them. They never actually laid hands on her, which I'm so thankful for, but they would berate her. It was mostly the man, like the woman,
Right.
the wife, she was getting beat up too, so
Right.
there were times where she would berate us as well, but it was mostly coming from him.
And were you and your mom
And
having conversations about that and what was happening or your thoughts or feelings about that? Or was that something you just didn't talk about until you were ready to leave?
yeah, we did not talk about it because as soon as we did, he would know. Somehow he knew. Like,
Well, your house was probably
w
bugged.
well, it's interesting you bring that up. I'll tell you, I'll share that with you, closer here to the end, but so there all this stuff was happening and, so we weren't allowed we lived in the same house, we worked at the same place, but we weren't allowed to talk. Like, we weren't allowed to talk at home. We could talk at work, but we weren't only about work stuff. And we would also, not be allowed to drive together because they didn't want us to be able to talk then. So my 10 years was almost completely in silence except for designated places, but my home life, it was complete silent. We had lived they had us rent an old farmhouse. So my mom's room was on one side of the farmhouse, mine was on the other. They had no idea that the phone calls were My mom had no idea, like, they were calling me in the middle of the night that I wasn't sleeping. He would have me up for 3 days straight just because he would call me as soon as I got off work and berate me for hours and hours.
Yeah, sleep deprivation will
Oh, yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
works
And
very well to manipulate you.
yep.
Yeah, I don't know if you're up to that part yet, but and I really, I just, it's so uncomfortable. This is why I like to see my guests when I ask them. But you mentioned that the sexual abuse came. Did it come on in a violent way, or did he try to warm up with you? Like, was it something like God's telling us that we're supposed to be together, or was it just like he would force himself on you?
Yeah, so he, told him that God told him
Of
that
course.
I had fantasies of him,
Mhm.
and the only way to get rid of those fantasies was to act it out.
Of course. Oh my god.
So, I would get home from work sometimes, and there would be things, laying on my bed because he had keys to the house, and he would that I would have to wear and go pick him up. But he was very smart because he did all the sexual abuse to me outside of our county. So he would take me outside of the counties, and the reason I'll tell you why that was so smart here in a minute, but at first it was just touching, but then he did start having sex with me, and unfortunately, you remember what I said about tearing down the idol of having a baby, he did get me pregnant.
Okay.
And that was probably well, it definitely was the hardest period of my life because I told him that I was pregnant, and he said, "There's no way God would let that happen." And I said, "Well, I'm pretty sure." So he had me get a test. I I tested positive. I had to call his wife, not him, and let his wife know that I was pregnant. And then they told me that I had to get an abortion.
Okay,
So
so his wife knew it was his baby.
yes.
Oh gosh.
She knew that he was having sex with me.
But let me just couple steps back real quick.
Sure.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I've heard, and again, I always say maybe I watch too much TV, but taking somebody across either state lines or county lines to commit a crime is a crime in itself.
Mhm.
So you said he took you to other counties to force himself on you. That's a crime. That's trafficking. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer and not law enforcement, but I know that if they take you out of state or across county lines to commit a crime, that's in itself a crime. So why was he taking you to different counties?
When I went to well, I don't know if he actually knew this, but when I went to go, press charges against him when I did finally leave, and then it took me a year to have the courage to press charges, and when I went to press charges against him, the police now this was many years ago, the police told me I would have to go to every single county or state and retell my story,
Mhm.
and I did not have it in me to do that. Now, I believe, like, things are so different now with the Me Too movement and all those things, I think it'd be handled a lot differently,
About what
but,
year was this all
Yeah, I
happening?
was just going to ask, what year was this?
yeah, so I got out in 2007.
Okay, yeah.
He was doing this with multiple counties?
Yes, yes. Primarily, it happened in, Maryland, primarily in Maryland,
Okay.
Okay.
but then also other counties surrounding Lancaster County. He made me at that point then, he made me go and get an abortion, and I had thought about running away, taking my mom and running away, but by this point, he had beaten me so many times that, he threatened to kill me if I did. He said, "If you leave, I'm gonna find you, I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna kill the baby." And I believed him with every ounce of my being because I
Of
had proof.
course, yeah, he's already done some horrible things. Why wouldn't you
Yeah,
believe him? Yeah, no.
yeah,
Oh, I think he probably
and
would have.
Yeah.
I yeah, and my mom would tell you that she was afraid to go to work when I had a day off because she was afraid that she would come home and find me either gone because he took me or dead because of the because the beatings, as the years went on, the beatings got worse and more frequent. So his wife actually took me to get the abortion. And that, to me, that was the day that I died.
We'll be right back after a quick break.
Don't go anywhere. More Cultimatum is coming up.
That was also the turning point. Like I gave up. Like I was like, there's no way that this would be of God. There's no way that God would ask me to do this. And if there is a God, I don't want him. I started doing a little bit of cutting because I had so much pain and I couldn't express that pain.
Very common with
Yeah. I'm gonna
victims
turn
like
off.
that. Very common.
So I was doing that cutting, and then I went to a grocery store to get groceries, and I found a book there that was talking about deliverance, and I thought, maybe if I read this, I'll find something that I can do that's going to make him stop hating me so much, and I can do this deliverance work that he wants of me to be doing, and then like God won't be angry at me anymore. And we weren't supposed to read any books, but I was desperate because I was getting beat. I was just desperate to figure this out. And in the book, this was my turning point. In the book, it talked about different things that people that do deliverance can become very prideful because of the power that they witness in people, like that they have over people, and that they can be like like a false Holy Spirit to them, meaning like, I couldn't make any decisions for myself. We weren't allowed to make any decisions about what we ate. We had to wear certain types of clothing. We had to wear certain colors. We had to have our furniture in a certain way. We had to have certain vehicles. We had to work at certain places. Like I didn't make any decisions for myself for 10 years. So and in that book it said that God abhors that. Like that's not of God. Like that's not right. So I started questioning him. And I told him that in the Bible it says that they will know, like you'll know another believer by their fruit. Like it talks about the fruit, and I was like, I don't see any fruit in you. And let me tell you, I got in so much trouble and got a royal beating that night, royal beating. And so then I was like, okay, I'm going to tear up this book and I'm never going to read it again. And this is my lot in life. But thank God, it wasn't. My mom was rebellious, according to them, and she went outside, got the book, and started reading it for herself. And then she and I realized that we could actually have conversations at work that he would not know about. So we started talking at work. At this point, she still didn't know that I had been pregnant. She didn't know that I had an abortion. She knew nothing.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, she knew nothing. No one knew. And then one day he came when he realized he could sense we were starting to pull away. One day he came to the house and to see my mom when I wasn't there and told her about how I had seduced him and all this stuff happened and that, I had gotten pregnant and that God hated me and yeah, all this stuff. She never told me about the conversation until many days later when I just couldn't. It might have been a week later. I was just so depressed and so suicidal, to be honest, that I just started talking to her and I didn't care if I got in more trouble. So that was like the beginning of our journey to get out. We had another couple that was regular customers of ours that came into the restaurant all the time, and at one point, she saw my hand was broken and she's like, "You keep falling and getting, like, all these injuries, like, something is wrong. What is going on?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. I just keep falling. I'm just clumsy." And she's like, "I don't think so. Something's off." Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Like
so she's
certain people are trained, or not just trained, they're just obvious. It's obvious that it's
yeah.
not what you're saying it is. Okay.
Yeah, so she said, "Here's my card." They actually had a prayer ministry through, a local church, and she's like, "Here's my card. If you ever need help, please give me a call." So I memorized her telephone number and threw out the card because I knew I'd get in trouble if he ever found the card, and I did call her, and I said, I don't know if what I'm in is of God or not. And I just want to know if it is, I'll just stay in it and I'm just going to do God's will. And that's I'm going to do. And she said, all I'm sensing from you is fear, and fear is not of God. So if you are so afraid, then it's not God. So it took us probably another 3 weeks to actually make the choice to leave, because it really hit home to me. Like, different scriptures that I had read even before I got in the cult and had read while I was in the cult started coming back to my mind, not the ones he used against me, but the ones that spoke truth. So that started coming alive in me. And
So
then we called.
how
Go
did you
ahead.
get it? How did you get out
Yeah.
ultimately?
Ultimately, we called him and told him that we were leaving. He ended up showing up at our house that night, convinced us to stay another week. And then my mom called the next time and said, "We are out of here. Like, don't come here. You're not allowed to come here." But she said, "We'll tithe to you guys for the next 2 more weeks," because it was in October. There was a couple more weeks left in October. "We'll tithe till the end of the month. But after that, we're done." And that was the beginning of our journey for healing.
And you literally packed a bag and left?
We literally packed. So within a week, we found a new place to live. We gave notice to our landlord because by that point we were in month to month. So it was. Easy to leave. And then we found another place to live. All of people from church, I'm sorry, not church, but people from our work decided they were going to start helping us. They moved us, and it's a whole nother God story about that and how we got out.
So, and he didn't try to stop you. He didn't come after you. He didn't really.
Did he have a new victim by that point?
Oh, he had several victims.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he knew that there was no way that by that point, he knew how strong we were, and we had all these people that were fighting for us.
Yeah, he saw the
And
writing on the wall. Yeah.
mhm, yep.
How many members were in the group, like, when you were there? How many members would you say, just approximately?
When I first started, there was probably about 30.
Okay.
When I left, there was less than 10.
Wow.
But I will tell you that he kept us all separate, which is different than most cults.
Yeah.
Most cults, people are in a commune and they're together or whatever. Um, but he kept us all separate because he didn't want us talking to each other.
Of course. Because you're gonna share stories and or, he molested me, he raped me, he got me pregnant, and if all that starts getting out, then what's that? There's a phrase: divided we stand, united we stand, divided we fall.
Yes.
And so the more that he knew that, we got to begin to wrap up. We do have
Yes.
we have a few minutes. I'd like to know when you left this. So, how far did you go? Like, geographically, how far away did you get from him with this new couple? You went to this new couple's congregation or their church? Is
Yeah.
that, and that's where are you today?
Yes, actually we are. Yep.
Uh,
I have remained at the same church since we left.
what year did you
2000
leave?
2007, October of 2007. So we're
And you've
coming up
been there
on.
ever since?
Yes.
Okay. Melody, you see the smile on her face?
Yes.
She
Yes.
seems like genuinely happy that she's okay. So and he's so you did say you went to press charges against him. Anything ever happened of those? No.
No,
No.
no. I didn't have the courage to go everywhere. It Now I am in contact with other members now. I still have a case because in the state of Pennsylvania there is no statute of
Go
limitations
for
for
it.
sexual abuse. I don't know how to proceed. That's one thing that I'm trying to figure out. I don't know if I go to the district attorney. I don't know if I go get a lawyer. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I just go to the state police. So I am trying to find that out. So that is something. If you guys have any information, I'd love
We
to
will
know.
put this so we're gonna mention this in the outro. We'll mention it in the show notes, and then Melody does have a number to give you
Oh, great.
later. Yeah.
Awesome.
No
I
no
can give you,
promises, but
yeah, yeah, I don't know if she'll be able to help in that county, but we'll definitely give you her information. She is a cult expert, a cult lawyer, cult particular lawyer that
Oh, wow.
that I know she's on the East Coast, so she's somewhere over in that area, but at the very least, she might be able to lead you in the right direction for a lawyer that is in Pennsylvania in particular that you could talk to. But we will
That
definitely
is
send you
awesome.
a link to her website.
And, and tell us
Thank
about your
you.
book.
Yes. So I wrote a book. It's called Pushing Back the Darkness. It's my story, but the awesome thing that's different about it's not just my story. There's also at the end of every chapter we have tips on if you're like what to look for if you're in a cult, how to get out of a cult, like all different things at the end of every chapter to help people get free. It's not just about being in a cult though, really, like anybody who has had domestic violence, anybody who has been raped, there's all these different things because we're all victims, right? I just happened to be a victim that had everything happen to me, but I can still relate to everybody else. I understand domestic violence because I did not want to leave. I was afraid. I loved him and I hated him at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's that I don't know the syndrome, but there's a syndrome where the captive falls in love with the captor.
Yes. Yes. The name is escaping me, but yes, I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Yep.
Oh,
Um,
wow. And I'm wondering why. So when did you publish your book?
I published my book back in 2013, and then we republished recently.
And I'm just jumping ahead a little bit because we'll get to this right before we close. But you are on social media because that's how we found you.
Yes.
So I'm what I'd like to do is get our audience involved or anybody on social media to help her with this case in Pennsylvania or any of the cases because I think this guy got away with literally almost maybe even murder. I'm not alleging. I'm alleging. We don't know, but he got a. I'm using the phrase he got away with murder, uh,
Yeah.
and it's not right.
Right. Well, and
Right.
I'm sure he's got current victims, right? He didn't
Yes.
stop this
Correct.
behavior. This is a pattern,
As far
and
as
he's
far as you know,
continuing
he's
to
still
do this.
around and still doing this?
Last time I checked, he's one county over from me.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Oh,
The term just came to me, Stockholm syndrome. That's
Yes.
Stockholm,
Yes.
thank
yes.
That's
you.
it.
That's
Yes.
it. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melody.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna begin to wrap up. So here comes my question, and then I should ask you: is there anything else that you didn't get to that you want to tell us?
No, I think I just really had only started to promote my book and really start telling my story in the last year. We just the way my life has been, and I just felt like it was time to really get out
Yeah.
there and share my story.
We told you at the beginning that we ask each of Melody and I each ask the guest a question, and you said, "Is it okay if I give you this answer?" And I think I know what the answer is going to be, and it's perfectly fine. So, my question to you is: you went through a horrible cult experience, a and Stockholm syndrome, and you had a strong belief in God and salvation and the Bible, but yet you were raped and beaten. And speaking for myself and maybe other ex-members that I've listened to in the past, a lot of people have run from that, but you
Mhm.
didn't. You ran towards another organization, which you've
Mhm.
been there almost, I'm guessing, over 10 years now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like 17 years. Yep.
So where is your faith today?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, people would say, like, "How could you even, like, want to pursue God after all of
Basically,
these
that's
things
what
were
I tried to
done?"
say.
Yep, that were done in the name of God to you. But God so radically set me free. I didn't get to really share all the details of that. They are in my book, but he so radically set me free, not only from him and in like the natural, but also when I sought healing, I was so radically set free from the bondage that I was in. And I am so in love with Jesus. Like I know that I know that I know that he is real. I have a personal relationship with him. I as crazy as it might sound to some people, but in some ways, I'm thankful for the experience because I feel like had I not gone through that, I would still just have religion and not relationship. And I would not understand the true love and peace that God can bring. Yeah. that's what it's all about, and I completely forgive them for what they did.
That's pretty impressive.
We're not big on labels, but so are you Christian? Are
Yes.
you
Yeah,
okay?
I'm a
Okay,
Christian.
that's
Yep.
good. That's all I need to know. Mel,
Yep.
you're up.
Okay, my final question is, let's just say that somebody in a similar situation to you, let's say
Mhm.
they stumble across this podcast, probably not by chance, right? By fate or
Right.
whatever, and they are looking for advice. They are doubting. What would be your advice to anybody who might be listening in a similar situation?
Yeah, my, first advice would be to find somebody that you can trust and confide and ask for, like, an outsider's opinion of what's going on. You might not be ready to go to a church, or you might not be ready to seek anything like that, but if you have a friend outside of the organization, it could even be a coworker, just somebody that you can tell your story to and get their feedback. I know it's very like, you get really afraid because you're probably told that if you say anything, you're gonna
Sure.
get in trouble, but it's worth being afraid and doing it anyway.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
put you
because
on the spot.
that outside perspective can make a huge difference because everything
Yes.
you hear
I'm
in a
gonna
cult is an echo chamber.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely, and I'm gonna put you on a spot in a very casual way. You don't have to answer.
Sure.
So, given that answer you just gave Melody, who would you have gone to 15 years ago? Take your
Yeah.
advice. Who would you have gone to?
I would have gone to my coworker at
Okay,
work, and
because
and
you
I
did say
did.
that. Okay, good.
Yeah, I actually did in bits and pieces tell her stuff, and what I didn't know is she and a lot of other people that I worked with, and clients, customers that were at the restaurant had been praying for us for many, many years, knew something was off, but wasn't quite sure, and knew I wasn't ready to hear it yet,
Right.
but they kept praying for me.
And the woman who saw your broken hand, she's the one that ultimately, yeah.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
The one who wasn't buying the
Wow.
story, yeah.
But yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep,
Good for her. And there's, I'm only asking this because we're a cult podcast. There's
sure.
this new organization. You want to name the organization
It
that
doesn't
you're
have a
in?
name. Oh,
Oh,
the
you mean
current
my
one?
church now?
Your church now.
Oh, yeah, I go to Ephrata Community Church in Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and I love it.
Great. Okay.
Yep,
And it is not a cult.
it is
It's
not a
a
cult.
regular
Nope.
old fashioned brick and mortar church where you just okay, good for
Yep,
you. Okay.
yep, yep,
Wow.
yep,
Okay.
and the pastors there have walked along with me in my journey and have really brought a lot of healing, so
One thing we did not hear or ask, and you can not, if you want, answer is did you get married, remarried,
yes,
and do you have children?
yes, I am remarried.
Good for you.
That's a whole 'nother God story, but I am remarried, and we have 5 adopted children.
Wow, good for you.
Wow.
Yep,
Wow.
Tremendous. Wow.
yep,
What an
and I have
amazing
3
story.
I have to say I have 3 stepchildren also that are adults, and I have grandchildren because I don't wanna leave them out because 'cause they're my
Oh,
kids
wow.
too.
No, that's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
Well, good for you. That's
yeah.
awesome. Jennifer, what an amazing story of resilience. Thank you so much for coming on the
Yes,
show and sharing this
Yeah.
story with us. We do
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me, I appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing and exposing the cults and, letting people share their stories, it's important.
Would like to do this if you didn't. Did you name him?
No, I'm afraid to name him.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, I'm sorry, there's still that little bit of fear that I have
I
yet,
I
don't
get
That's
that.
okay.
until the
Yeah.
authorities get involved,
Yeah,
I don't wanna do it.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of guy that will go after him, but that's your life, and I can't
Yeah.
mess around with that. So, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
It has
you.
been one heck of a story, and
Yes.
God bless you. Seriously,
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
And
Go-
there
you.
will be
God
He
has
does.
blessed you.
there will be a link to her book in the show notes, and links
Thank
to
you.
her social media so you can find Jennifer. But thank you again, Jennifer, for coming on the show.
Thank thank you both. I really appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too. Bye bye. And once again, we want to thank Jennifer so much for coming on the show and having the bravery to share such a personal story with
Unbelievable. Yep,
us. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna keep saying it every time we watch our guests and to the audience, the guests aren't here in studio, and Melody is in another state, and I'm in another state.
Right.
But the guests, we get to see them, and the smile that I saw on Jennifer's face. Do you think she had to do any deconstruction? Because I think she went literally from this horrible situation, and within a couple of weeks was with a whole new congregation, which probably took very well good care of her.
Oh, I think she would have still had to do it with some deconstruction. You have to
Okay.
process,
Yeah.
especially with that kind of trauma. I mean,
get
this was
the
pretty
trauma.
severe. Yeah, pretty severe stuff. So I'm sure she had
And-
some deconstruction to do. She's probably still in the process of trying. I mean,
And-
just the fact that she hasn't gotten justice yet tells us that
That's where I was going.
Yeah,
That's what I'm bursting to say it. I want this guy's name. I want to go after him. But in respect to Jennifer, obviously that would not be to her benefit.
Right.
Let her take care of it so we'll help her with giving the names and the resources that we have. But you know me, between the Twin Flames and there's a couple of other cults out there that I'm starting to look up.
Well, this guy sounds just atrocious.
He's not a human.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Okay.
it's one of those stories that is almost unbelievable. You hear it and you're just like,
Yeah.
Is this stuff really happening out there?
And you and I talked about this just before we started. It almost borders on human trafficking, because while he didn't traffic her to other men, he did kidnap her and take her across state and county lines, which,
Right.
as I said in the episode, is illegal and for sexual purposes. And
Yes.
I can't believe this guy is walking around probably doing it to other women. And that just irks me. Really does.
Absolutely. And it's all done through religious coercion and manipulation. He's using religion to manipulate and coerce. And then he's actually takes it a step farther with the physical abuse too. So
Yep.
he's just
the beatings. Sure.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy story. But so we just can't thank Jennifer enough for again having the bravery and being at a point in her story where she's able to actually share, because that's a very personal story, to share that with all of us. And as always, we want to thank all of you as well for tuning into Cultimatum. We do appreciate your support in our mission to expose the truth and highlight the voices of these survivors.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. And don't forget to follow, share, and keep listening to all of our latest episodes.
And you can also follow Cultimatum on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube for more content and updates.
Don't forget to join our Facebook group, Cultimatum Podcast, where we dive deeper into these important topics.
And if you are a cult survivor and you're looking for additional support, we do recommend joining the Cult Escape and Healing group on Facebook.
If you're interested in more work from me, do have a new website called the Anonymous Andrew Podcast Studios.com. And if you go there, or just anonymousandrewpodcast.com, you'll go there, you'll get all of the podcasts that we produce. So we got Cultimatum, we got Digital Dating, and we got The Weekend Rant. So head over there and you'll have, you can actually listen to the episodes right from the website. If for some reason you can't access like Apple or Spotify.
Yes, and if you have a story related to cults or human trafficking that you'd like to share with us, please email us at cultimatumpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you are inclined to help us support the show, we could use your help. So go down into the show notes and you'll see a little link that says buy us a cup of coffee. Anything that you can helps, like $5. Believe me, will go a long way.
And as always, stay safe, stay informed, and remember, you are not alone.